Before you swing a sword, before you cast a spell, every hero begins with three choices: race, class, and background. Come on, adventurers. Let's build your legend.
Boots on stone, we lost the way. Who's the driver? Not today. Map is flipped in disarray. Level free, but tend to slay. Bought a sword with evil glow. Cleric healed, then burst, we know. Wizard.
Welcome back to Dice&Duarte's. So far, you've learned about dice, ability checks, combat, and spells. Now it's time to create the hero who brings it all to life. Your Dungeons & Dragons character. Every character starts with three basics: a race, a class, and a background. Together, these define who you are, what you can do, and why you're adventuring. So, let's start with the first one, a race. Your race determines your physical traits and natural talents. For example, elves are quick and perceptive. Dwarves are durable and proud. Humans adapt to nearly any challenge. Each race adds its own bonuses and story flavor. Second, your class. Your class defines what you do best. Fighters rely on weapons and endurance. Wizards bend reality with intelligence. Rogues rely on stealth and precision. And clerics draw divine power to heal and protect. Your class shapes your role in the group and in the story. And last, your background. Your background tells where you came from. For instance, you're a sailor, noble, soldier, or scholar. It grants extra skills and helps explain why you became an adventurer in the first place. So, we're going to look into the first one. We're going to go real deep and dive into each part of making your character. First up, your race. There are many different types of races in the fantasy genre of Dungeons and Dragons. We're going to look at a few. You have, of course, your human type, your dwarf type, your elf type, your halfling, which are the little ones, the gnomes, which is also the little ones. Then you got your half elf, half orc, or regular orc, and dragonborn. Let's look at the human race. Why choose human? Well, most people choose human because they're extremely flexible for any class or any playstyle. I mean, it's easy because we're all humans, right? That's usually the first thing that most people pick. It's easy to understand for beginners, and it fits naturally into most fantasy settings and stories. As with any race, they come with bonuses and any kind of strengths. So let's look into it some more. So, we're at the human race. They have ability score bonuses. For a standard human, you get +1 to all 6 ability scores. We talked about this earlier: strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Do you guys remember that? Then you have your variant human, which is optional. You get a +1 to 2 different ability scores of your choice. So, for example, you can add a +1 to your strength or your intelligence. Or you said, hey, I'm just going to put +1 in my constitution and strength, and so on. You also gain proficiency in one skill of your choice, which we'll go over skills later. And you also gain 1 feat at level 1. We'll go over feats and all that extra stuff later. Your speed and size, you're always going to be medium with a speed of 30 feet. We'll go into all that stuff later on. Your strengths. You have no restrictions on any class choices. You have great synergy with feats, especially as a variant human. And you have balanced stats, which help avoid weak ability scores. Usually, for the most part, you want to have your stats to be somewhat balanced. Now, when you're role playing as a human, it's pretty easy. You're a human. So they often bring ambition, adaptability, and determination to the story. They also tend to rise quickly, they take risks, and shape the world around them. Humans are ideal for character driven characters by personal goals, duty, or legacy. It's pretty easy. It's pretty normal. Let's look at the dwarf race. They're sturdy, resilient, and unyielding. They are known for their toughness and craftsmanship, and they thrive in frontline roles. So, some people, when they play the dwarfs, they have a tendency to put them towards the front. Nothing wrong with that. They're pretty sturdy guys and gals. Now we ask the question again, why choose dwarf? They're exceptional in being durable. Their resistance to poison, which you'll find out on your many adventures is very important. And they have excellent armor synergy, which means that they're pretty proficient in most armors, from light all the way up to heavy. Their ability score bonuses is they get +2 for their constitution. So they get a quick advantage in constitution. Their sub races, which we'll get into later, grant strength or wisdom bonuses. Their speed and their traits, since they're a little bit smaller than regular humans, their speed is 25 feet when not reduced by any armor that they're wearing. They also have dark vision, which allows them to see in the dark, where humans, if you recall earlier, do not have that. And they also have what we call a dwarven resilience. We'll explain that later. When you're role playing as a dwarf, you use pride, honor, tradition, loyalty, stuff like that. They're also quick to remember grudges and favors for generations and generations to come. The best classes that you would probably use with a dwarf that most people use is a fighter, a cleric, a paladin, or a barbarian. Don't worry, if you don't know what all those things mean, I will explain in videos later. The elf race. The graceful, perceptive, and naturally magic beings. They excel at agility, awareness, and finesse, making them ideal for players who enjoy precision and elegance. We asked the question we've been asking, why choose to be an elf? Well, they have high dexterity and keen senses. They have access to powerful subraces, and they have strong synergy with martial and spellcasting classes. They also have an ability score bonus. They have +2 to their dexterity, and their subraces grant additional bonuses, for example, intelligence, wisdom, etc. Their speed and traits. Their speed is 30 feet, just like humans. They have dark vision, just like dwarves. And they also have Fey ancestry, which they have an advantage versus charm and an immunity to magical sleep, which is important. That's what you want to do. When you're role playing as an elf, you want to go towards valuing art, patience, and long term thinking. But they often struggle with the short lived nature of other races because elves live for a very, very, very long time. The best classes you want to use to pair with them would be maybe a rogue, a ranger, a wizard, or a monk. But it's up to you. All right, on to the itty bitties. You got your halfling race. They're small, nimble, and incredibly lucky. They thrive on agility and survivability rather than brute strength. So we ask the question, why choose halfling? Well, they are very, very lucky. Their lucky trait re-rolls natural ones. So if you roll a natural one, which we've all learned is no good, they can re-roll it. And they have high dexterity. And they're excellent at being stealthy. They also have ability score bonuses, just like everyone else. They have +2 in dexterity, and their subraces grant constitution or charisma bonuses. Since they're a little smaller, their speed is 25 feet. They're very, very lucky, like how I explained earlier, and they're brave. They have an advantage versus fear. If you want to role play, things to consider is they value comfort, community, and courage when it truly matters. Even though they're small, they're mighty. The best classes that you can use with them, for example, would be a rogue, a bard, a ranger, a monk, or any class you like. Staying with the small people, we have the gnomes. They're clever, inventive, and magically inclined, and they thrive on intelligence and curiosity. Why choose a gnome? They're strong and very intelligent, which gives them a bonus. They have advantages on mental saves. Remember that. And they're great with magical synergy. Their ability score bonuses are +2 in intelligence. And their subraces grant dexterity or constitution bonuses. They're itty bitties, so their speed is a little less than a human, 25 feet. They also have dark vision, which you remember other races have. And they have what we call gnome cunning. If you want to know what that means, just give me a comment and I'll explain what gnome cunning is. If you're role playing as a gnome, that's what you want to do. You always remember they're driven by curiosity, humor, and creativity. The best classes to use with a gnome, I would say a wizard or an artificer or a bard. Next, you have your half orc race or full orc race. Doesn't really matter. Either way, they're tall, they're powerful, they're relentless, they're warriors, and they thrive in combat and intimidation. These are the big ones in the game. Why choose half orc or regular orc? Well, they have high strength and durability. Their savage attacks are used for big damage. And they have relentless endurance, so they can carry things. They can be like the pack mule, or they can be the shield. They're just strong, strong characters. They also have ability score bonuses. +2 on strength, obviously, and +1 on constitution. Their speed and traits, pretty much the same. Speed, 30 feet. They have dark vision, and they have relentless endurance. Sometimes, depending on what type of orc you're playing, in conjunction to the class, their speed might be a little faster. Depends. If you're role playing, you want to often think about battle, 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 and use that battle fury and channel it into raw determination. You're all about the fight. Best classes you can use with an orc race would be barbarian, obviously, fighter, paladin, all types of things you can use. And you got your dragonborn race. Dragonborns are proud, powerful beings with draconic ancestry. Their breath weapons and physical presence makes them formidable heroes. Once again, why choose Dragonborn? Well, they have elemental breath weapons. They're strong, and you usually use them as a frontline presence. Their damage resistance are based on ancestry, which we'll get into much later when we get into the nitty-gritty of how things are made. They have ability score bonuses. +2 for strength and +1 for charisma. Their speed and traits: speed 30 feet. They have draconic ancestry, which we discussed before. And they have breath weapons. If you want to roleplay as a Dragonborn, for instance, you want to value honor, your clan, and personal strength, just to give you a little baseline. The best classes to use would be a paladin, a fighter, a barbarian, and a sorcerer. Let's look at the half races. You got your half elf, which combines, obviously, a human and an elf. So you have best of both worlds, kinda. You combine the human adaptability with elven grace, making them one of the most flexible races in the game. Once again, why choose half elf? Well, they're highly customable. So you can customize all across your ability scores. And they have strong social skills. Yeah, and they also have dark vision and Fey ancestry. Remember, they also can give you an ability score bonus. They can give you +2 to charisma and +1 to 2 other ability scores of your choice. So not only do you get +2 somewhere, you get +1 anywhere else. Their speed and traits. Their speed, 30 feet. They have dark vision and they have Fey ancestry. If you want to have a few notes about role-playing, they often feel caught between worlds, or they're confused about what they really are. You're just shaping what you want to be, do what you want to do, and be adaptive in everything that you do. The best classes would be a bard, a sorcerer, a paladin, a warlock, a fighter. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do, you do. There is another race, and they're called tieflings. Tieflings carry infernal heritage that grants them natural magical abilities and a striking appearance. They excel in spellcasting and social intrigue. The question we've been asking all day: why choose tiefling? Well, they have strong charisma-based abilities, they have innate spellcasting abilities, and they have a natural fire resistance. The ability score bonuses are +2 for charisma and +1 for intelligence. Their speed and traits, 30 feet. They have dark vision, and they're able to cast hellish resistance, which is fire damage. If you want to roleplay as a tiefling, you say you often struggle with prejudice because you don't look like everyone else, but you develop a strong individuality and confidence. The best class you can use for a tiefling would be warlock, sorcerer, bard, paladin. That's just a suggestion. You can use any class you like. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something about different types of races that you can create. Now, on the next episode, we'll be diving deep into the classes.